Hello friends, welcome back. Today we are talking about intention, what it is, how to set it, and how to make sure you are talking to the right spirit, the right source of psychic information. So if you are new here, welcome. My name is Lauren. I am a psychic development coach and I am here on my channel trying to teach you how to connect with your psychic abilities. So if you're all about that, please subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of our community here. We are really getting back to the basics for this video. So when you sign up for my courses or you're watching my videos, I talk a lot about setting intention. And sometimes people ask me, oh, well, do you just do that? Like, is that an active thing that you have to stop and do? Do you just kind of like, is it some sort of ethereal something? It's a little bit of both. But I get a lot of questions on it, so I really wanted to make sure I clarified on what exactly this looks like in this video. So the problem that a lot of people have when it comes to not setting intention, not even like thinking about it before you're about to connect to spirit, do a reading, read somebody else or yourself, is that you don't set the intention of who you're talking to, or even like who's allowed in your space, or when something can talk to you. And so what happens is you have spirit talking to you when you don't want them to talk to you, like right before bed or in the middle of the night or while you're driving, or, you know, just doing something that like is not a good time, basically. Another more like mild version of this as well is for those of you who are readers, who are practicing, and you're trying to like connect to the right psychic source. And make sure that you're talking to the person that you're supposed to be talking to. So, for example, like if you're reading a group of people in a room and you're trying to pick up on Susan in front of you, but you accidentally are picking up on Jacob's stuff who's sitting next to her. It's like, how do I make sure that I'm connecting to that right person? Or again, in spirit, like, hey, this person wants to connect to their relative. I want to make sure that I'm getting their relative coming through and not a spirit guide or not a negative energy. And then what I see most frequently is all the folks that say, oh, I feel like there's negative energy that are coming in and trying to talk to me. How do I get them to stop talking to me? That tends to happen a lot, especially when you're opening up your abilities and you're trying to develop your psychic abilities and you want to talk to the good energies, but you're unintentionally kind of letting in everything. Setting your intention is also about narrowing it down and making sure that you're not getting too much information. This is especially like important for you empaths there. Like if you feel like when you open up your psychic ability and you are just getting like a flood of spirits and you just want to, you know, single it out to like one spirit, we want to learn how to set our intention. And that happens a lot. Like I always like to use the analogy that my coach gave me of like, if you are psychic, you are kind of like a picture like a house on a street and your lights are on and this spirit is walking down the street and they need somebody to talk to and they see that your front porch light is on, so they're going to come and knock on the door and bug you. And so you have to kind of think about your intuition and your psychic ability like that. When it's on, you're kind of like a hey, I'm open for business for spirits to come talk to me. So that is what this video is about. We want to make sure that, again, the person showing up on your door is somebody you invited, somebody you wanted to be there, somebody that's good, and they don't show up when you don't want them to. And this is like the who we are talking to. When it comes to our psychic ability, I've talked before about like, when you sit down to do a reading, there's the who, the what, the when of your psychic ability and getting psychic hits. And so we're talking about the who in this video. And again, I go over that more in my courses if you're really like wanting to get a handle on this. So setting your intention is basically who are you talking to, who is allowed to communicate with you in spirit. And my coach, Karen Fox, she used an analogy. She called it like setting your frequency as well and tuning your radio. So like, for example, when you want to connect with a certain spirit, you are imagining like one of those old school radios. You're tuning to the channel that you want to connect to. You don't want any other channel. You don't want all the channels at once. You want the channel that's specifically for this spirit that you want to talk to. Now, let's get into how to actually do it. There are always going to be two parts to this. Two parts that you always want to do forwards and backwards, basically. So you want to do it before the reading and after the reading, or whenever you're sitting down to do like psychic work and you're just picking up on information. Make sure to do this two-part technique ahead of that, and then when you're done. That's the most important part, because that's how you make sure that the spirit like doesn't follow you, doesn't keep talking to you, and when you're done. But then also at the beginning, it makes it very clear of like who you're talking to. So this two-step process is always going to start with, who are you talking to? You want to set the intention of who is allowed in your space, who is allowed to give you psychic information, who is allowed to speak on your client's behalf. So you get to decide. You get to decide if this is a loved one in spirit, if this is a certain spirit guide, if this is a animal that you want to talk to, a loved one in spirit, your higher self. It's totally up to you, as long as this energy is for your highest and best good. And that's the other thing that we want to make sure, is that whoever we're connecting to is not going to give us unhelpful or harmful information or negative information in any way. Now, I will say too, this doesn't have to be just like one entity. Often what I will do before a reading is I will connect to that person, and I will say, I want to connect to this person's spirit guides. And so I'll open it up to anybody that is their guide. But again, if I'm like, okay, this client really wants to talk to grandma, then usually I'll be like, okay, I want to talk to her grandma. Sometimes you might need to get more information, like you can get their name to help you feel like you're really telling spirit, this is who I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to grandma on mom's side. I want to talk to grandma on dad's side. So you are always welcome to ask your clients for like a photo or a picture or something like that. So that you can, a photo or a picture, a photo or like a name or a birthday, so that you can like feel like, okay, I know I'm talking to this person. Just know with that, there's a little bit of like issue with bias, which I am going to do in another video. It'll be linked in a card above. Just know that the more information you get about that person, the more it can kind of like skew your bias. But that's another rabbit hole for another video. But yeah, you get to decide based on who you're reading, whether it's yourself or somebody else. You're setting the intention, this is who I want to talk to. And how you can do this is you can say it out loud. I'm connecting to your guides of your highest and best good. You can say it in your mind. You can use a visualization. So really, it doesn't matter which one you use. I think a lot of people get hung up on like, oh, well, how do I do it? How do you do it? And it's more about like, what makes you the most confident? What makes you feel like, absolutely, I'm connecting with this spirit? You know, maybe that is getting a photo or like writing out their birthday. Or maybe it's saying it out loud because that feels better than saying it in your head. I often use visualizations just because I'm a very visual person. So I will imagine a door and I say that this door is for my client or for myself, and I only want XYZ to walk through. I only want 2 spirit guides of theirs. Again, you can use the example that my coach gave me, which was like sitting down and tuning a radio. You can close your eyes right before a reading. Imagine tuning that radio to the frequency of this spirit guide. Another question that I usually get too is like, well, what if you don't know your spirit guides? It's okay. If you don't have their names or you don't know exactly who they are yet, you can just set the intention, I want to connect to my spirit guides. I want to connect to spirit of my highest and best good. So you don't need to like have all the details. Basically, you're doing that to learn who they are, and you'll eventually come to that with time. Really, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you really like feel confident in that it works and that you are connecting to that exact thing. And so I give a lot more examples. I give out like a whole printout of how to set that intention in my course. So if you are really like struggling with this and want more like ideas, definitely check out my masterclass course because I go over that in more detail. Now, the second part of setting your intention, I would say, is like 95% of what you got to do. And that is the belief that it will work. So you can set an intention and you can say, I'm talking to so-and-so, and you can go through those motions of saying it out loud. But if you do not believe that it's going to work, that's where you just like kill your psychic ability every time. With anything that we talk about in the psychic ability realm, if you don't believe that it's going to work, it just won't work. And I like to think of this as like a loophole where spirits take advantage. So if they're like, oh, she wants to connect to so-and-so, but she's clearly not confident. All right, cool, I'm going to step in and get my 2 cents in here. And I think that's where you'll get those negative spirits that are like pushing through when you're feeling not confident and you're doubting yourself. And so that just might be another sign that, hey, I need to really believe in this. And to get on like the bigger topic of your psychic ability, so much of it is based in belief. And if you don't trust that your psychic ability can work, it's just, I'm laughing because it's so like counterintuitive, and it's like, oh, I want to like get more psychic hits, but I'm not getting any, and so I have to believe that it's just gonna work. Like, I totally understand how like backwards that is, and it's one of those things where you have to believe it before you see those results. And that is one of the hardest hurdles, I think, that happens when we start to develop our psychic ability, because again, we've been trained for so long to be so logical, to not use our intuition, to be very like, you know, look for the evidence, look for the facts, which I think is very important. It has a very good time and place, but we have to really like unlearn this idea that we can't trust ourselves and we can't trust our intuition. And so a lot of that is going in with blind faith. So point being here, when you're setting the intention, if you're feeling like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right, and this feels like a load of horseshit, just try to trust, try to, again, believe before you see those results, suspend that disbelief, and try to believe in the impossible. And maybe something you can start telling yourself is like, I'm open to the fact that this could work, or I believe that I can be good at this, you know, instead of telling yourself like more positive affirmations like, I'm psychic, I'm 100% right 100% of the time. Like, you know, sometimes those don't work if you don't believe it. So coming back to setting this intention, again, if you don't believe that you can connect to that dog, that spirit, your higher self, again, it's kind of like this, it automatically just stops your psychic ability. There can't be any doubt there. And I still have this daily. And so I just have to push through it and say, you know what? I'm setting the intention. I know my guides know. I know that I said it out loud. There's nothing more I can do. I am just going to fully move forward, trusting that I am receiving the information from this right psychic source. And what happens is over time you start believing it so much, and it absolutely starts working so much, and it just becomes so easy to set that intention, and you don't question yourself. And if, you know, worst case scenario, you start to get the wrong information from a different spirit, you just recorrect, and you're like, oh, I'm connecting to the wrong source. Let me just redo this, you know, it's not the end of the world. And I see this most often when people are trying to like get certain spirits to stop talking to them. And what it is that you don't necessarily believe you can get rid of them. And so again, that spirit sees it as a loophole. And in a way you're setting the intention, oh, I can't get rid of them. Oh, they're here to stay. And they're like, cool, she said, I'm here to stay. I'm staying. And then they keep bothering you while you're sleeping or while you're going about your day-to-day stuff. Or even just, you know, if it's not negative, like you set the intention that, oh, I whenever I connect, there's too much noise. There's too many things I'm connecting to. Well, then you're going to get all the things. You're going to get all the spirits trying to connect to you. And so, like, think about what this is like with, like, people in person, real people. And if you tell a friend, like, if your friend is doing something and you don't want them to do it, and you just, like, don't say anything, they're going to keep doing it, right? But if you say, hey, it really bothers me when you do X, Y, Z, then they know the boundary. You know, whether they respect it or not is something completely different, but at least you communicated it and it was clear. When you live in that fear or that anticipation of being wrong with the psychic ability, you end up attracting being wrong, if that makes sense. So again, trust that it's going to work, at the same time as being very clear about who you want to talk to. So now you've set your intention, You're going to want to go through all the other like things that you do before a reading. I have like a whole list, again, in my courses of like what order you do this all in. So you do your reading and then you're done with the reading. And now it's important to do those steps again. So I'm done with my reading. Maybe I'm reading here in my little she shed, and I want the energy to leave my space because I'm going to go about the rest of my day. So it's very important that I set my intention again of who is allowed to stay, who is allowed to talk to me. Maybe I decide that it's okay if my guides hang around. Maybe it's okay that, you know, my cat or my cousin who came in during the reading stays around. But I don't want the client that I just read, I don't want her energy or her guides here anymore. So again, we have to set the intention. Who's allowed to continue to talk to me? Who's allowed to be in my room, my space? And basically like, hey, this reading is over, so you can't talk to me until the next time I do a reading or until I tell you otherwise. And that's how you really get control of like the when does the information come through. You know, if you're getting information at all sorts of weird hours and you don't like it, this is how you start to say, hey, I'm available, Spirit, I'm available between 9 and 5, you know, or I'm available right now when I'm doing this reading and now you can't talk to me anymore. So when you are doing this intention on the back end, you want to make it very clear of like, when is Spirit allowed to talk to me again? And you're going to do this the same way, either by like setting an intention out loud or in your head, or using a visualization, like you can turn that radio off. I usually like close the door. When I'm in my shed here in this space, like I imagine that there's like a door actually like right back here. There's not a door here, but this is like where they come in and out. And I imagine closing that door, and I ask Archangel Michael to like sweep them out and like push their energy away from like my home. And as you are clearing this energy out, making clear who can stay, who cannot, if you want to get rid of everyone, also, I think that's a great place to start, especially if you're a beginner. Get rid of everyone so you're not feeling overwhelmed, even your own guides. Say, thank you guys. My energy is clean and clear. No one's allowed to talk to me anymore. But again, remember with this, you have to believe. You have to believe that they are leaving your space. So if you've got to do like 5 different techniques to feel like they are leaving your space, do it. Again, remember, it's about confidence. It's not about which one is right, which technique is perfect. It's more about what makes you feel good. And that if you need to like get up and do something physical to like clear the space, like shake off the energy, again, I give so many ideas in my course. You can do that. Just again, remember to believe in it and believe that they're gone as soon as you are done. And what's funny now is that I've gotten into such a good habit of getting them in and out that my little shed here is like, it has so much activity, but the rest of my house, because I'm like out, this is detached from my house, the rest of my house has like no activity. It's so safe, it's so protected, because I say, hey, you're not allowed to talk to me in there, well, besides like my guides, but nobody, like no clients, all of that energy has to come in here. And so it's funny too, because when I am not good at setting my boundaries, like this literally happened a couple nights ago, where I was out or inside my house looking outside into the shed, and I felt like there was so much activity in here because they're allowed to be in here, and I forgot to clear them out. And it was like, oh gosh, there was a party out here and I needed to like mentally clear it out because I kind of forgot and was getting lazy. But it's funny how it's like isolated to this little shed, because I set the intentions of like, where is clients' stuff allowed to come? Where are my guides allowed to come? And so that is it. That is basically the 2-step process that we want to do. And the reason why we do this is we want to make sure that the psychic information that's coming through is accurate. So if you're connecting to the wrong guide, if you are connecting to the wrong spirit and you're asking it questions, it could be giving you not the best answers. It could give you especially negative spirits. They're not going to give you information for your highest and best good. Also, it helps you connect to the right psychic source, which, you know, is important because there's certain people you do want to talk to, certain people you don't want to talk to. Again, if you're reading clients, it's very important that you are connecting to the person that they want to connect to. And lastly, you are controlling that energy and when and where it is allowed to enter your space, your field. You know, you're deciding, hey, I do want psychic information now, or I don't want psychic information now. and when and where they're allowed to like communicate with you. So all of this ends up improving the information that comes through, your control over your psychic ability and the accuracy of it, which just makes you a better psychic all around. So very, very essential part of this practice. Remember to set your intention as you start and stop readings for yourself or for other people. Always important. And if you want to get practice, we do have a group that meets once a month on Patreon. We do a psychic game night where we all practice reading each other. It's a lot of fun. We've also added 2 new perks to Patreon. I'm just going to mention them really quick. Now, every month I do individual readings for everyone at the $11 tier and up. And then we also have a group chat now. That wasn't a feature before, so we can get in there and like talk to each other. So lots of cool things on Patreon, lots of extra content that you're not going to get here on my channel. We do a lot of live nights over there, and I have exclusive videos as well over there that I don't release on YouTube. So one that's coming up, I talk about how much money I made for this year as a psychic. So check it out if you are interested in supporting me more as a creator. So let me know if you have any questions about how to set your intention. Feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and I will see you in the next one. Alrighty, bye.